Hi everybody, welcome back to Coding and Creating. Today we're going to be starting our unit on computer programming, and we're going to be learning how to code in a language called Swift. We're going to be using an app called Swift Playground to learn how to code in this language. And if you're watching this video at home and you don't have an iPad, at the end of the video I'll talk about an alternative way that you can use your Chromebook and a website called Codeorg to get your handle on all the same concepts using that website instead of the Swift Playground app. So let's go ahead and dive right in. The app that we'll be using today to learn how to program in Swift is called Swift Playground. It's available in the Apple App Store and it runs on the iPad. So let's go ahead and open up the app. And when you get in there, I already have several lessons loaded in my Swift Playground app, but in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see where it says See All. In the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to press See All, and up at the top part of the screen here, you'll see different complete sets of lessons. In our course, we don't have enough time to necessarily get through all of those longer courses, but they're great for you to check out if you have time. And down here in this middle section, there's some challenges. And we're going to use the one called Hello Byte as our first lesson. So take a screenshot and circle that one. So press on Hello Byte and then click Get, and that will get that, playground, and we can start it. So I'm going to open up the Hello Byte app, and let me go ahead and just go through this introduction with you. The first section is on commands. Have you ever baked or followed a recipe to bake something delicious, or followed instructions to assemble something cool? You need to follow the instructions in the correct order, or you'll end up with something unexpected. Writing code allows you to create your own set of instructions for your device to carry out. Your goal is to figure out which instructions in which order will result in something great. You'll start by writing commands to move a character named Byte around a puzzle world performing tasks. For example, you'll tell Byte to move forward using the move forward command, or collect a gem using the collect gem command. Notice the mashed together words? Code is punctuated and spaced like human languages, but commands have no spaces between the words. So commands always end in parentheses, and you'll see why later. I'm going to hit Start Coding, and we'll take a look at our first puzzle. Now, one little tip is to read the directions on the far left side. I'm going to click in the upper right where there's a speaker icon. I'm going to turn off the background music and turn off the sound effects just so that you're able to hear me a little bit better. Read those directions on the left. They do give you some really helpful insights. A lot of times kids will need help, and I simply read the directions out loud and then they get it. So check that out. You tap on the left and notice at the bottom there's two commands that it's saying I should use. One is collect gem and the other one is to move forward. And I need to move forward to get this gem. Let me do a screenshot here and show you how this works. So you want to move forward 1, 2, 3 blocks and then collect your gem. So always start by counting on the block in front of your character when you're trying to solve these puzzles. So I'm going to tap to enter my code. If I double tap, it'll bring up my keyboard and my options here. So I'll say to move forward 3 times and collect a gem. And now I'm going to hit Run Code, and let's see it. Now he steps forward 3 times and collects the gem. So that worked great. Now you could hit Next, but I want to show you something really fast before we go out of this puzzle. Right here there's a menu which allows you to step through the code faster or slower. Running your code really fast like this can be really useful if you're doing a longer puzzle. Another thing that may be useful if you're doing a really complex puzzle, up here there's 3 dots, that's the options menu. Sometimes right towards the bottom of the page, you may want to choose the option right here that says reset the page, okay? That can be super useful if you just want to get a clean, starting fresh sort of moment. So there it is. Now the page is back to its original settings. So if you ever needed to, you could rewrite the code. When you enter the code and you run it, what will happen is it will mark that puzzle as being complete by putting a green check mark in this little menu. So you can see I clicked on that center menu, and under the first puzzle, which was issuing commands, it put a green check mark, and you can jump around. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next section and go over the introduction to the next section, which is called functions. So a function is a way of giving a set of instructions a name. Every day you perform a range of tasks automatically without thinking about what you're doing. Even a simple task like tying your shoe took time to automate. You learn to do it using a sequence of steps. To tie your shoe, you do the following: loop, swoop, and pull the string. In programming, a function allows you to name a set of commands which you can run anytime you want. So if you were to write this in code, you would use func, which is the command for a function, and then you would give the function a name. In this case, it's tie my shoe, followed by some parentheses. And inside the curly braces, you're going to put the commands that define what happens when you say tie my shoe. It's going to loop, swoop, and pull. Okay, so whatever's inside the curly braces sort of gives the function its behaviors. After you define your function, you call it by name to run its commands. So if someone tells you to, if you say tie my shoe, they will follow all the steps necessary to tie my shoe. Another example of a function that you probably are familiar with is when you were a little kid, your parents taught you how to brush your teeth. So they said, wet your toothbrush, put toothpaste on there, brush your teeth, spit out the toothpaste, rinse your mouth, and so on. They gave you this whole set of instructions. But once you learned that and they defined what the set of instructions for that task called brushing your teeth, whenever it was bedtime, they'd say, brush your teeth. That's a function that describes all of the steps necessary to brush your teeth. It's just called brush your teeth, and it's all the things you have to do. And let's go ahead and jump to the next section. I'll go through the introduction for for loops. So this is called for loops. A for loop allows you to repeat commands. So imagine you're helping someone plant seeds in a garden. They might ask you to, for each of these 4 seeds, make a hole, place the seed, move 5 inches forward. And to write a loop for that, you would use the word for, and you would include the number of times in the loop it'll run, and it would look something like what you see on the screen. It would say for each seed is the name of the loop, and then it gives it a range of numbers like 1 to 4. And then inside the curly braces are the instructions that would be carried out each time it goes through the loop. So you can see it makes a hole, places a seed, moves it forward, and it does that whole process over and over. Now, when I hit start coding, I hit tap to enter the code. Down at the bottom, it shows a list of commands. Now, again, I reminded you to read the directions. If we look at these together, it says, in this challenge, a simple pattern works for each of the gems, and figure out how to collect the first gem and see if that pattern works for all the other gems. So if you write the code to get the first gem and you're facing the right way, then you can just repeat that process. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, look at those different commands and see what would you use to create a for loop. Sometimes kids are a little bit confused on which one to pick because it doesn't say the word repeat and it doesn't say the word loop. It says the word for. So F-O-R, that first one, if I tap that, that is how you create a loop. and you would tell it how many times to repeat where it says number, and you would tap here where it says code, and you'd enter the commands to, again, get to that first gem, and make sure that your character's facing the same way that they started out. And that will help you to solve that puzzle. So have fun using Swift Playground if that's your option for learning. Now, if you're someone who is at home and you only have a Chromebook, you're going to use a website called Code.org. So when you get to Code.org, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you use this option that says continue with Google, okay, right here, continue with Google. And once you hit that option, it's going to take you into the site, and you might, if you're a student that went here to Mason when you were in the 3rd grade, you might see a course that you signed up for when you were in the 3rd grade, believe it or not, and it might say Course D. Go up to the upper left-hand corner and click on My Dashboard. Then, once it loads up, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and where it says Join a Section, you're going to go here and enter the section code for our class, which is GQTSCC, and say Join Section. The name of our class that I'm assigning is called Express Course 2020, and you can click there. And what you'll notice is that I have just selected a few lessons that go along with what everyone is learning on the iPad. So right here in the warm-up section, there's no lessons that I selected for that part of the course. Under sequencing, I chose this one called Collecting Treasures, and it's a similar content to what you do in Swift Playgrounds where you're collecting the gems. So this will be your activities. So to get started, just click on the first activity, and it will give you a video explaining what to do, and when you're watched the video, then you can hit continue. Have fun learning about coding. See you next time.